Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Kaya Veil channel. Thanks for subscribing, commenting, checking out the content. What's really on the rise now is all the complaining that you hear in America about guys taking women out on dates, right? Well, pretty much it's the same thing overseas as well, especially in thriving Asian countries like China, our biggest ally. So let's go. Let's see what these women are talking about. And also shout out to China Unvarnished. This is fair use. This is just my opinion on the video, but check it out. Oh man.
来帮我评评理哈，我昨天去相亲碰到一个男的，真的是太差劲了。
Yesterday's blind date was truly an eye-opener. Everyone, listen to my experience and help me judge. The man I met yesterday on a blind date was simply the worst blind date I've ever encountered, and I was completely speechless. Do you know what happened? When it came to ordering food, he told me to order whatever I wanted, so I didn't hold back. After all, he said, order whatever you like, right? So, I picked a few dishes I liked. First, I ordered a bird's nest dish, then a king crab that was slightly bigger than my face.
See, when you take these women out on dates, you got to understand that a lot of times women are going to choose the most expensive options. The plates and dishes that they order are going to cost more than the ones that you were going to order. A lot of times. And a lot of times, if it's a group setting, one person gets stuck with the bill. Oh, I see that all the time on Instagram. It's too funny. That's why you don't go out in large groups of people, because usually it's one person that gets stuck with that bill.
And a few black tiger prawns that were just a little longer than my hand. At this point, he suddenly asked me, "Are you sure you can finish all that?" I thought, what's the big deal if I can't finish it? I'm not eating alone. So, I replied, I didn't order all of this just for myself. The bird's nest is for my bestie, the king crab is for my brother to try, and as for the black tiger prawns, since my mom hasn't tried them, I'll take...
So basically, she wasn't even really feeling them. She went out on the dates and then she could get some freebies to bring back home to her family. Ah, she's so scandalous.
them home for her to taste and show my filial piety. After hearing that, the guy said he needed to go to the restroom,
Oh,
and
boy.
guess what? He never came back. In the end, I had to pay the bill myself, and I maxed out 3 credit cards. This meal truly scared me. I was
What? 3 credit cards? You got to be careless as hell to max out 3 credit cards. Oh my God.
really shocked by this kind of jerk. If you're broke, don't go on blind dates. Men like him deserve to stay single forever and shouldn't be out there messing with women.
Thinking about it now, it's both funny and
That's a luxury
frustrating.
meal.
A blind date is supposed to be about getting to know each other, but it turned into an opportunity to order a seafood feast. I ordered bird's nest, crabs, and black tiger prawns, and I even wanted to take it all home for my relatives and friends. I also think it's kind of funny. In a situation like this,
Ain't a damn
wouldn't
thing
anyone
funny.
run away? Nobody's a fool. So, who do you think is to blame here?
He's at fault. Because a lot of social media influencers are telling y'all no foodie dates.
Later, I thought about it more. The guy was polite at first, saying that you could order whatever you like, but that was
Idiot.
just him being courteous. Shouldn't you also consider his feelings? On a
No.
first meeting, ordering so many high-end dishes, shouldn't you have thought about how much this might cost him? Especially when he asked if you could finish all of it. Wasn't that a signal? Instead, you pushed it further, not only wanting to eat...
See this setting right here. One person is going to get stuck with that bill. And when the waiter comes and brings the checkbook, people are just going to ignore it. Either they don't have the money or they don't want to pay. And for some reason, the younger generation now thinks that everything is free and somebody else should pay for it.
for yourself, but also planning to pack it up for your relatives and friends. You wanted to bring some for your bestie, brother, and mom. Were you there for a blind date or to pack leftovers? Next time, when making up excuses, why not say it's for your family dog too? Asterisk, asterisk. What you did was really embarrassing. There are plenty of things you haven't tried. Why not order everything on the high-end menu and maybe a bottle of 1982 Lafite to take home for your dad to taste? For women like you, who use blind dates as an excuse to get free meals, It's no wonder you can't find anyone to marry.
Free meals and Instagrammable dinners.
To sum up what you did, you used a blind date as a pretext to feast. You weren't eager to pay the bill either. And now, you're asking everyone to weigh in and judge? Who would dare marry a woman like that? But on the other hand, the guy was also a bit unchivalrous. He disappeared without even saying goodbye. So, who's really to blame here? Should the guy...
This footage was all before the bill came. I just thought I'd point that out.
guy bear some responsibility too?
Everybody was so happy, but then everybody gets the shivers when that bill comes.
Let's chat in the comments. I'm genuinely curious to hear everyone's thoughts.
我觉得小气的男人都让我给遇到了。
I feel like I keep running into stingy men. Yesterday, I went on a blind date, and the guy really made me feel like he was a bit stingy. After we finished dinner, I suggested that since it was still early, we could go to the mall. My thought was to take this opportunity to spend more time with him and get to know him better, right?
First of all, who the hell still goes to the mall like that? Oh, that's right. The American malls are closing because, see, in America, we tend to buy everything online, so the retailers are struggling, and that's why a lot of these malls end up closing down because nobody really goes to them like that no more. Nobody hangs out at the mall like that anymore. This isn't the 90s. And the mall was always expensive. The mall wasn't the cheapest place to buy stuff. The mall was always a place to hang out unless you were of age, adult, with a good job, and you could actually afford to shop at Macy's and Sears and all the other places. Other than that, as a teenager, you could get some yogurt or ice cream or something. That's the only thing you'd be able to afford as a teenager. But in adulthood, I'm not going to ask a woman to go to the mall.
He didn't seem to mind, so we went to the mall together. As we were walking around, I saw a bag that looked pretty nice, and it wasn't very expensive, just a few thousand yuan. I tried it on, and he actually said, "This bag really suits you. It goes well with your outfit today. If you like it, you should buy it." When I heard him say that, I thought he was going to buy it for me, so I went ahead and tore off the tag, getting ready to go to the checkout. However, when it came time to pay, he asked me to pay for it myself. I was a bit stunned at the time, thinking,
Do you hear the privilege of these women? What's wrong with them? Just because he gave you a compliment he didn't say he was going to pay for it. Now, if he was your wife or something, it might be different, but...
"Isn't this bag something you should be buying for me?" So I asked him, "Shouldn't you be giving me this bag as a gift?" To my surprise, he said, "This is just our first meeting. We don't even know if we're a good match. Why should I buy you a bag? Tell me, if a guy is unwilling to spend such a small amount of money on the first date..."
A small amount of money. It's a small amount of you because it's not coming out of your bank account. See, you got to understand, when people act like this, they want you to go broke for them. And it's like it's just selfish. So if she's that selfish just as a date, how selfish would she be in a relationship?
Who would want to continue seeing him? Who would want to live with such a stingy man in the future? No wonder he'll never find a wife in his life.
Hello， 大家好，我刚下班回家。
Hello everyone, I'm 34 years old this year. I just got home from work today, and shortly after I stepped in the door, the person introduced to me by the matchmaker sent me a WeChat message. He said he planned to come over to see me later and wanted to invite me to eat mala tang. At first, I thought mala tang is delicious, but since it's cold, I wanted something warmer like hot pot, so I jokingly replied to him, "How about treating me to hot pot instead?" Thinking the cold weather is perfect for some lamb, I made a little joke with him. Unexpectedly, he replied seriously in a message, explaining that mala tang and hot pot are actually quite similar. Both involve boiling various fish balls, vegetables, and other ingredients like meatballs together and then dipping them in sesame sauce.
Wow.
He said the taste between mala tang and hot pot isn't much different. Then he added that mala tang is cheaper and just as tasty, whereas hot pot is a bit more expensive. He suggested that we just eat mala tang because it's more cost-effective. I smiled after hearing that, but still insisted on having hot pot because I really wanted some lamb today. He responded by saying that mala tang can also have meat. While I agreed with him on that point, I couldn't help but sigh, "You're really thrifty."
And out of all these videos I watch, this is one of the only women that really smiled and actually gave real face expressions. So it didn't seem as much like it was scripted, even though we all know a lot of these videos are scripted, but...
It's our first meeting, and you're already this stingy.
Ooh.
What if we get married in the future? He felt a bit embarrassed after hearing that and immediately changed his mind, saying, I'll listen to you. We can eat whatever you want. How about we just go for hot pot? I comforted him by saying, it's not about what we eat. The important thing is that we can sit together, chat, and get to know each other better.
If that was the case, then why was this such a negotiation then? You should have just went with the first option. Not talking about you wanted hot pot.
That's what matters most. In the end, we decided that he would come pick me up, and we would decide what to eat after we met. He arrived an hour later, and I'm now getting ready to change clothes and go out with him for dinner and to talk about our thoughts. From what I've learned through the matchmaker, I suspect he might bring up the idea of taking me to see his hometown. He once mentioned that his village is very poor and gave me a heads up, asking me not to look down on it. I made it clear to him that as long as he's a decent person, I wouldn't care too much about other things. I'm someone who's easygoing and doesn't judge based on wealth, so I told him to relax and not overthink it. After hearing that, he seemed visibly relieved and said he'd be there to pick me up soon. We haven't set any specific topics for our conversation today, but I have a feeling he might mention taking me to his village or even bring up future plans. However, I can't say for sure what the outcome of today's conversation will be. Anyway, I plan to be upfront about my expectations for a partner. I'm not one to hide my thoughts.
We moving a little fast there, ain't we? Your expectations on the first date, what's wrong with these people?
While I don't care about wealth, basic things like income, a car, and a house still need to be discussed, right? I don't expect a man to be rich, but at least he should be above the average income level, right?
And above the average income is rich. Well, at least almost. It'll seem rich because it's rare.
When I think about it, it does feel a bit like a business negotiation, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. After all, marriage should be a process where two people communicate honestly and reach an agreement quickly.
Marriage is a business. Has nothing to do with love. You're in love temporarily, but it remains business.
If it doesn't seem like a good match from the start, there's no need to waste each other's time. So, even though it feels a bit like negotiating a deal, it's an efficient approach.
It's all negotiation. It's something you have to really think about and sleep on if you really want to marry this person or not.
For how today's conversation will turn out, I'm not too concerned. I'll just go with the flow. If it works out, we can pursue a relationship, and if not, no big deal.
No
跟女
big.
孩和一个88年的男生约会，
Recently, our company introduced a couple on a blind date, and the story was just hilarious. Last week, a girl born in 1994 went on a date with a guy born in 1988. Initially, they had a great conversation, and the atmosphere was quite nice. Later, they decided to go grab something to drink since there were plenty of restaurants nearby. The guy thought this was a good opportunity to get closer to the girl, so he suggested they have dinner together. Sounds smooth so far, right? But things didn't turn out that way at all. They walked up and down the pedestrian street, passing by several decent-looking restaurants with good environments and food. But every time the girl wanted to go into one, the guy would come up with some excuse to refuse, either saying this place wasn't good enough or that one wasn't suitable. It seemed like he was nitpicking every single restaurant, leaving the girl quite confused. Finally, the guy took her to a restaurant he claimed to especially love, a beef noodle shop. He excitedly told the girl that beef noodles were his favorite and promptly ordered 2 bowls of noodles.
Not to get off subject, but have you noticed that body counts and hookup culture is not really mentioned in any of these videos when they put them out? That's what I noticed. That's the big difference between US dating and dating in China. Nobody's not talking about no damn body count or, how many tattoos you got, just a bunch of superficial shit.
And the grand finale of this romantic dinner was that the girl ended up eating a bowl of noodles with him, with the total cost of the meal being less than 30 yuan. Around 10 p.m., after returning home, the first thing the girl did was call the matchmaker at our company, venting her frustration about the date.
Oh my
She
God.
said she had never met such a stingy guy, and afterwards, she blocked all his contact information. What's even more surprising is that the guy's family is actually quite well off. His family owns 5 properties in Shanghai,
and he himself earns about 300,000 yuan per year.
And see, have you noticed business people, they tend to be more stingy than the average person? It's like the average person will try to splurge out more than what they really have, whether it's credit card debt or just savings. I mean, the more somebody makes, the more stingy they're going to be about splurging out their money. That's just how it goes. Like Scrooge McDuck from DuckTales. Remember that? Where's my 80s and 90s babies at? Right here. Scrooge McDuck. Tight as a mofo.
Yet, despite his financial situation, he still took the girl to eat a cheap bowl of beef noodles. The girl felt that with his economic background, it was absurd that he was so stingy, and it's no wonder that he's still single at his age. This really makes you think, how much should a man spend on dinner when taking a woman out on a date?
我见过最抠门的男人是我们合肥。
Rule number one, you don't take them out on dates. At least foodie dates. Because a lot of times, who doesn't like to go out to a restaurant for a nice meal? Well, if it's a free opportunity for the girl, she's going to take it whether she's into the guy or not. And being that she went out with a guy that's made off pretty well, she assumes that he's supposed to spend all this money just because he has it like that. But he doesn't have to treat you like that because he don't know you. That's why he's so stingy. Maybe if you get to know him a little bit more, he'll spend more money on you. After all, it's never free. Women are not free. If all you want is one thing, I'll just say pay for it up front. Shit.
的一个会员，
The stingiest man I have ever met is a member of our marriage and dating company in Hefei. During their first meeting, he treated the woman to a chaihuaji, stewed chicken. That cost only 58 yuan, but that wasn't the point. What really shocked everyone was that when they didn't end up dating, he actually asked her to compensate him 3,000 yuan for lost work, date expenses, and emotional damages.
What?
This man, over 40, divorced, and a local demolition household, works as a carpenter. He looks honest and straightforward, but in reality, he can earn more than 10,000 yuan a month. Initially, we introduced him to a woman who worked as a warehouse manager at a well-known chain restaurant. When he first saw her, he was smitten and eagerly invited her to lunch during their break, which ended up costing only 58 yuan. The woman felt he was very stingy and was reluctant to continue. However, our matchmaker advised her that a frugal man could manage life well, so they decided to give it another try. They spent some time together, but the woman still felt it wasn't a good match. However, the man refused to accept the breakup and even contacted her workplace, seriously interfering with her work and life. Ultimately,
That's some bitch shit. I hate when people do that. You gonna call them on their job? Like y'all married? Ugh, this is where it gets nasty.
the woman decided to stick to her decision and did not want to continue. The man, however, kept pestering her and claimed that he had lost a week's work because of their dates, demanding compensation. He even stated that the woman had gone shopping with him and spent over 800 yuan. We initially thought he had bought clothes for her, but it turned out that the woman said she only accompanied him to choose 2 outfits, and the 800 yuan was what he had spent on himself. He meticulously calculated all expenses for meals, lost work, and shopping, totaling 3,000 yuan.
And that's your fucking fault. Who told you to spend all that money?
And demanded that the woman compensate him. I've met people who are good at counting pennies, but I've never encountered a man who is so meticulous about every detail. This gentleman even called the police, accusing the woman of tricking him into buying overpriced clothes, claiming she was in cahoots with the...
I don't think this dude is really a dude. This dude sound more like a broad. Come on, man. What the... Bitch made.
store owner. The police were baffled. They calculated his expenses and concluded that he had spent 58 yuan on the first meal, 180 yuan on the second, and 130 yuan on the meal the woman paid for, ultimately negotiating that he demanded 54 yuan in compensation from her. From that point onward, whenever we introduce him to potential partners, we always remind them, if you're not interested in this man, never spend a penny of his money. Otherwise, he will demand compensation. As time
Man, we can't even do that in America. What the fuck? Oh, man. It's starting to get embarrassing.
passes, 3 to 4 years have gone by. Can you guess whether he has found a partner?
家人们，现在相亲市场上竟然还有这种男的。
Sisters, I'm really speechless. I can't
I'm not. She got tattoos right here. Or should I say tramp stamps?
believe there are men like this who come out for blind dates. When we first met, he drove to pick me up and I thought we could have a nice chat. But as soon as he got in the car, he said, "I'll treat you to a big meal at noon." He asked me to buy a coupon online for 19.9 yuan, which could be used for 100 yuan at the restaurant. He also said he would buy one for himself. Hearing this, I found it a bit strange and kindly reminded him that typically only one coupon can be used per table. The guy seemed very confident at the time, checking the link while saying, "Don't worry, it'll be fine. Just buy it and we can use it when we get there." When we arrived at the restaurant and were about to order, he suddenly asked the waiter, "We each bought a 19.9 yuan coupon. Can we use them together?" The waiter clearly told him, "No, because only one coupon can be used per table." To my surprise, this guy started protesting loudly, saying, "You're deceiving consumers. How can you not let us use them?"
How embarrassing. Of course that'd be a turnoff if you make a scene out of something petty, but let's go.
He even argued confidently, "We each bought one. It's not like we bought a lot. Can't we use them together?" Faced with the waiter's insistence, he continued to tell the waiter, "So your point is that only one coupon can be used per table? Then I'll just sit at the table next to her. We can eat separately and that way it should work, right?" That moment, I was truly speechless. The waiter was also stunned by his words.
So it's not a date then if she not eating with you. You over here, she all the way over there. Oh man. We live in a sick generation.
This guy kept saying, "We can sit at 2 tables. We can each order our dishes and have the waiter grill our meat separately, then split my dish with her and vice versa. Sisters, do you think this is appropriate?" We met for the first time to get to know each other better, yet this man was trying to take advantage of the restaurant just to save money on a meal. In the end, the waiter said that theoretically, if we really wanted to do that, it was possible. The guy actually said nonchalantly, "Then it's settled. Let's order at 2 tables." Hearing this, my patience finally reached its limit, and I stood up and left without looking back.
She's the first woman on these videos that said she actually walked out. Usually a lot of times it's the man that walks out during the date because the woman orders all the expensive shit on the menu and then expects him to pay for it and doesn't help. Versus her patience just reached the limit and she just said, "Fuck it."
It was truly disgusting. The business already offered the coupon at a discounted price of 19.9 yuan, which means they would lose money using it for 100 yuan at the restaurant. As a man, how can you be so calculative about these things? Oh, I almost forgot to tell you. This man even complained to the waiter, "If you can't afford promotions, then don't do them. I really think if you're a man and you're poor, you shouldn't go out for blind dates. If you're poor, please don't waste my time."
Well, that was a little bit more harsh. If you're poor, don't waste my time. But if you're putting in effort, to be honest with you, it's expensive to go out on dates now. I mean, shit, it's like almost $300 just for one person to get into Disneyland. And let alone going to a concert, you're paying $50, $60 for parking. So that was a little harsh right there. But they tell y'all not to broke date, but y'all keep doing it.
Why do many women say that the men who come for blind dates seem very stingy? First, you need to understand that during the blind date process, men are not just meeting you alone. They usually meet many women, so the frequency of blind dates is quite high. According to our traditional view, it is natural for men to treat women during the first meeting. However, as the number of blind date partners increases, the expenses will naturally rise as well. Since you women are not the ones paying, I think you have no right to comment on whether men are stingy. Another important reason is that men are actually not unwilling to spend money.
Time, energy, and money. Most men don't like wasting their time. See, women have time to waste because they could pretty much manipulate almost anybody that they're looking for, right? Sadly, but no. most men, when they spend their time and money, they want to make sure that they get something out of it. But a lot of times these blind dates just don't work out because just a lot of basic upcoming and disagreements. It just separates everything for the whole reason why they're there in the first place, to date and get to know each other. But it seems like spending money on the date is the biggest issue. And I'm like, wow.
Rather, they are hesitant to spend easily when they are uncertain about whether you like them. If he spends hundreds of yuan on a massage, the masseuse can at least provide him with several hours of relaxation and comfort. On the other hand, if he spends the same amount on a gaming console, that console will belong to him forever. However, spending this money to meet a woman comes with a lot of uncertainty. Although there may be mutual attraction, if neither of them finds the other appealing, this expense seems extremely wasteful. Therefore, a man's caution about spending during blind dates often stems from concerns about the success of the date and the reasonable use of resources.
Guarantee you they ain't paying for that shit. And he's right. He could just spent that money on a massage with some extras.
Do you agree with my viewpoint? Feel free to leave your comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel.
I'm subscribed, and thank you for showing this video. Hope you guys like this. I thought this was this was funny. I enjoyed doing this. This is Kyle Vale. I'll catch you on the next video. Peace.